Hi guys, welcome to the latest episode of the podcast. We've got a slightly different story to tell this evening. We're interviewing Chris, who started relatively recently with us. I just double checked because I remember it was last summer. It was September Chris started in. So Chris has been quite in and out in terms of starting in the club, lockdown, out of lockdown for a bit, back into lockdown and so on. But I'll let him tell you a bit more about his story. So firstly, welcome to the podcast, Chris.
Good evening, John. How are we doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good, thank you. So, obviously, I've only known you since it'll be the last Tuesday of August last year, but there's obviously an amount of story preceding that. So, tell us a little bit about you, Chris, and kind of where you're at before we met you, whatever you think is relevant and people might be interested to hear.
Cool, no problem. I'm 47 years old. I've got two kids. I've got a 17-year-old and a 15-year-old. Married, live in Mac, lived around the area for a number of years, so Poynton and Bollington were my haunts before then. Job-wise, I work for a chemical company. I'm a sales manager for a chemical company. I used to be out on the road travelling all over the globe sort of thing, but I'm now a bit more of a sedentary lifestyle where I'm sat at the desk managing a team of account managers and customer service officers. I was very, very much in a privileged position. The company I worked for actually had an on-site gym, and it was a free facility that was converted in one of the old laboratories. Brilliant facility that we had, and I did, if I'm honest, I used to use that sort of during the lunch times. And we've actually recently moved premises, so we don't actually have a gym. So that was part of my mentality to thinking I've got to get my butt into gear and still commit to something else to make sure I try in my later years to stay as fit as I can. My story, I suppose, that really it was a bit of a lightning bulb moment for us as a family. We had to, in the first lockdown, my wife's clinic is classed as clinically extremely vulnerable due to an autoimmune condition. She doesn't mind me telling people about it, and as a result, we had to shield in the first lockdown, and it was extreme shielding, if you can pardon the sort of description of it. We literally weren't able to leave the house because of the advice we were given and a lot of fear factor that came into it. So when that period of time, which was very, very challenging, we enjoyed the lockdown together as a family of four. And we enjoyed that through food and through having a few drinks but we weren't literally leaving the house even to do that 1 hour of exercise, if you remember back to that days. So it was brutal. And by the end of that, physically, I wasn't in a good shape. Looking in the mirror, the pounds were well and truly piled on. I looked and felt horrible. My body-wise, I felt awful. I felt mentally pretty shot from going through that experience. And I literally one Sunday afternoon had a word with myself and said, right, I'd seen one of your members. I won't name him on here because he'd probably be embarrassed, but saw a Facebook update and I thought, bloody hell, he looks all right for a 53-year-old. And he'd done the before and after. So I gave this gentleman a call. And when we were allowed to, he came round and had a brew and taught me through what Rise was all about. When I say I didn't hesitate, I did hesitate because one of the key things for me was the COVID compliance because of the vulnerability of the missus. And I said, this guy had not been into the club since you'd done the changes. And I just looked at your video. I thought, okay, that looks pretty carefully thought out. And I thought, right, I'm signing up. I had it explained to me by one of your members. And I committed, and it's genuinely one of the best things I've ever done, John. It was I'd describe it as life-changing. I really would. How it helped me physically, I've changed. I don't know how much I've lost actually because I've got my scales are broken, not due to me standing on them, but they're just knackered, and I've not bought any more. So I'd rather know that I'm physically looking better. I know I feel better. I look in the mirror and I like more what I see. Not quite like it yet, but that's the story from my side. I felt very, very welcome at the club. Coaches and yourself are absolutely brilliant. The programme is, I want to say it's easy to follow. It's not easy to commit. You've got to put a certain amount in yourself, of course. And I'm very happy with the the commitment I've made, and I'm looking forward to making even further progress as it goes on, you know.
Awesome. So just rewinding a bit there, before lockdown and the challenges of that, were you kind of where you wanted to be health and fitness wise? Was it just lockdown, or was that kind of on the back of some of the movement in that direction?
Yeah, if I'm honest with you, I've always struggled with a bit of yo-yo in the past. You know, I've done the 5-2 diet, had a bit of success on that, and then piled it back on when I sort of went back to normality, if you like. So I think it's fair to say I've struggled with the weight before. I used to use the phrase "I'm fit but fat," you know, which is quite an interesting concept, because you really, you know, you can have a level of fitness and think you can pound away on a treadmill or whatever and do that sort of exercise, but you're obviously doing something fundamentally wrong from the eating part of it. And that, for me, when I look at my lifestyle, it was very much, I was all over the place with the work. I was convenience eating. I was eating at the wrong times. I was, because I was traveling, etc. I had no discipline from the diet point of view as well. So one thing that I found really beneficial with the RISE program, and I remember thinking at the time about when you advised about monitoring the calories and using MyFitnessPal and actually logging what you do and getting that discipline of really looking what you're not pretending what you're looking at, really looking at what you're eating. That was a massive eye-opener for me. And it just means now, because I've got that bit of discipline after a few months, I think very differently about sort of my food choices and the calories that I'm eating in the day. You know, it's not, I don't feel it's a chore now. I feel it's more of a sort of a lifestyle change thing.
That's good. That's exactly what I want people to get to with it. I think when we first talk about tracking and MyFitnessPal and things like that to people, I think they get concerned that it's this big thing that they're going to have to do for the rest of their life, and it's a massive pain in the arse. And some people like to do it for the rest of their lives, and there's potentially value in that. But what my kind of hope is for the majority of people is they'll use that data, that actual, you know, information, to then make some adjustments, some changes, question some of the things they were doing before, and use that going forward to make something a bit more habit-based. And it is quite eye-opening. I remember the first time I did it, almost thinking, it's a bit like when you get on the scales and they don't tell you what you want to, and you just budge them around a little bit in the bathroom just in case there's something not quite right with them. It's like first time you punch something into MyFitnessPal, you're almost like wanting to shake your phone and just go, is that wait a minute, that can't be right.
Well, you scroll down to find a lower calorie value on it,
yeah. It's got like 4 times as many calories in as you thought. And I think what often happens is we punch something in, or we kind of go to, and we go, that explains it.
Yeah. And this is the sad fact of it. I think it's my mates, I've got a group of mates, very close friends, and they'll all probably listen to this and take the piss out of me, but I've actually introduced them to MyFitnessPal. And it's, you know, some of them are like, we're now giving it, you know, this is a pretty good midlife crisis. We're watching what we're doing. We're at these guys, they've all had similar lifestyles and similar jobs to us, but they're all out on the bikes now. It's a bit of a kick up the arse, this lockdown, and this self-discipline that it's brought us all. It's becoming a bit of a competition now for us all to be out cycling or walking or, you know, watching what we're eating. And genuinely today it was a ridiculous situation where we actually have a WhatsApp group and we posted what we had for lunch today.
Okay,
that's pretty sad for a group of middle-aged blokes, to be fair. But it's that we're all taking it seriously, that we have to get our asses into gear and try and change a few things, you know.
I do get that, what you're saying about calling it a bit sad, but to me, a lot of these things that you do, it might not be the funnest kind of process. It might not be the sexiest thing that we do, but it's the stuff that then creates or allows a lot more fun downstream. So when we've got a body that we like the look and feel of, when we've got energy levels, when we've got endurance, stamina, all that sort of stuff, that just opens up so many more actually really genuinely fun, enjoyable options, and kind of the stuff we have to do along the way that's maybe a little bit boring, maybe a little bit mundane, maybe a little bit not sexy, is more than worthwhile from my experience.
Absolutely agree.
So presumably, obviously, you were, I think you called it extreme shielding for the first lockdown. Has that now been kind of updated a little bit so that you're just being somewhat protective, but you've got a few more options?
Yeah, it is. And then, so we had that period of time. I'm trying to work out, I think I've been out of the club more than I've been in it. And I think this is a really important bit for me that has made me understand it was a brilliant decision to make, because, you know, the level of support I had, the level of sessions that I had, the level of engagement that I had with Rise, whether I was in the club or whether I wasn't in the club, has been exactly the same with yourself, with the other coaches. I mean, I do the sessions each week. I actually do them via Facebook Live, so I don't actually have the Zoom session ongoing in the mornings. And that still feel we've got the engagement with the guys. We put messages in the comments section, and I still find that really good. But just to answer your questions, and it's we have gone a little bit more, we're a bit lighter on that. So as I mentioned to you on the before we went live here, I'm going out for a lot more walks, and certainly we're not going to supermarkets and things like that. We're still keeping that side of the protection there. My wife's had the vaccine now, so we feel very much a little bit started to get that protection. All my family have had the vaccine, so we're pretty much ready for when we can see our families again now, and also when we can get back into the club as well. But it's something that I've had to keep going, and I've committed to do a lot for my own mental health as well. It was really something that I needed to keep going. And I've had a bit of a knee injury for the past couple of weeks, and I've noticed there that because I've not been doing the sessions, and my wife certainly has noticed, I'm a bit less tolerant. I'm certainly less alert. And now this week I'm back on. My knee's feeling better. I've done a couple of sessions already last week, and I did the one this morning. And fingers crossed everything's going okay. And I can already feel I'm feeling better. And I had a good day today. I had a sharp day at work, and it was all right. So,
to me, that's a massive part of what it's about. There's a great expression that I love, that the king eats first, or obviously the queen. It's a gender neutral expression, really. And I think often, particularly as parents, but in lots of different situations, we're tempted to feel this guilt about what we perceive as putting ourselves in front of other people. We think we need to do these things for the kids or for our other halves or what have you. But what then happens is we don't take care of ourselves. We don't do what needs to be done to create energy, to put ourselves in a better mood. And actually everyone else around us suffers. I know if I miss a workout or two, I'm definitely a little bit less happy, a bit grumpier.
Absolutely.
And I can feel if that turned into a week or a month, I'd be probably quite miserable and grumpy and not much fun to be around. So me prioritising to some degree those things is actually really an investment in those around me, I like to think.
Yeah, it's become a good routine for me. It's a discipline. I do the 7 to 8 session. I think the reason I probably did knack my knee a little bit, I did my own little objective in January. Everybody did dry January. And I've reduced my drinking massively. I'm not teetotal, and I don't pipe on about drinking or anything like that, but I did all January, which was my own little objective, to do all the sessions Monday through to Saturday at Rise, 7 till 8, and I did them all. I was getting a bit of a twingy knee at the end of the thing, and I should have listened to my own body and pulled back a little bit, but I still did it, and actually I had to deservedly so have a couple of weeks off to get my knee back to it. But again, that was a brilliant objective. I had that difference of workout every single day, that variety from yourselves, going to my front room, even the fact you've lent us the kit and stuff like that, that enabled me to push myself with the heavier weights and things like that. So I've even gone forward from when I left the actual live sessions actually at the at Rise, and I'm happy with what I'm doing at home now. So
yeah, that's awesome. I find as well that's always a different conversation we create in our head. Whilst obviously there's an element of listening to our body and resting when needs to be, in my head for many years now, it's never been a conversation of shall I exercise? It's what exercise can I do today based on time and logistics, maybe injuries, maybe aches and pains and stuff like that. But it's kind of it's like we don't think, shall I eat some food today? We think, what food shall I eat? To me, in my head, and hopefully in a proportion of members' heads, it becomes that conversation of what can I do, not can I do something.
Absolutely.
I think I remember you saying as well. You tried, and I don't know if to have, like name names and look at what have you, but I think you tried something in lockdown one, if I remember correctly, to try and help you get going back in the right direction without giving any specific details. Run us through what happened there.
Yeah, I mean, it was still linked with the gym we had at work, and basically that we did have a trainer that was able to do some work with us. So there's a couple of colleagues that got together every Monday and Tuesday morning and went through a bit of a workout session. But that workout session was very samey. It was quite, it was basically sort of like almost like a PowerPoint type presentation where you were going through the motions. There was definitely something needed from me where I needed to commit to doing stuff in between those sessions, absolutely. And that was something I wasn't, for my own personal reasons, wasn't enthused to do. So that part of the keeping fit during lockdown one, I just genuinely failed on that front for a number of reasons. I wouldn't necessarily say it was the person that was trying to help me. It was certainly down to the lethargy and the lack of commitment that I'd done to myself. And as I said to you, when I got to the end of that process, I had a proper word with myself and made some life commitments to change things and to make that firm commitment that I would do something like that followed a structure that I would be comfortable with. And that's definitely what Rise gave me. It was the initial thing where it was the lose 20 pounds in 8 weeks. I thought that's a brilliant objective. I'm target driven. That's my job. That's how I work. So that target gave me that chance. I missed it by £1. I'm still. It wasn't to do with getting the money back. I just wanted to definitely hit that £20. So I got £19 in. And I was just, when I look at the sheets that you get from you guys and the change in visceral fat and changing all other key parts of my body that I know are making a big difference, that was really good for me. And I keep those little sheets next to my bed, and I've got them in time order from the time when we've had the assessments. So I'm very keen to get back into the academy and work out what my next sheet looks like. I hope it's still going to be all right. I'm sure it will.
Sure it will. A couple of words that you mentioned in that last bit there that I think particularly ring true is firstly you mentioned about being enthused about or not being enthused about the previous thing you did. And I think that's often key. Now that's not necessarily, as you said, a bad reflection on other options. There's a myriad of different approaches people can take, and I'm not someone who would ever. I know a lot of fit pros that slate slimming clubs, but if they work for someone, they work for someone. If they create enthusiasm and change and therefore results, then that's great. But I think the thing is we have to be enthused by it. We have to have a level of buy-in, and that's a combination, obviously, of that thing and how it fits us, but also kind of where we're at. It's like you said, having a word with yourself and making some kind of changes to the way we think about and perceive things. And the second word you mentioned was comfortable with it. No right or wrong with that. If we feel comfortable with a situation, an arrangement, a program, whatever it is, again, we're way more likely to do something with it. I've actually been writing a couple of blogs today, which I think they'll actually come out before this podcast comes out, but talking about the three letters, the CBA of motivation, which is competence, belonging, and autonomy, and that belonging, that feeling that you're part of something and you feel comfortable with it is huge. And that's why people often struggle with conventional gyms. Again, there's nothing wrong with them. They deliver what they sell, but for most people it's not something that they walk in and feel that they want to be there. They don't feel comfortable, they don't feel part of something, and it very easily becomes something that all of a sudden you realise without really consciously doing it you've not used in a month or 12.
I've been guilty of that, John, without a doubt, and I've had memberships at many of the local gyms. I do genuinely see them as a bit of a, what's the word, almost a luxury, yeah. But you've hit the nail on the head. When you walk in, you know all the 7 o'clock crew, you know the different trainers and stuff, and it's about that belonging, and that really is. We have a good crack on the sessions. I wouldn't get up at 6 o'clock in the morning if it wasn't good fun. I wouldn't drive across town to do that if I wasn't recognising how good I felt when I drove back home and started my day's work. I miss the guys in the club, but you obviously do still see them online, and the fact that they're all still committed And we're still hearing the names and still seeing a few of them on, online every morning at 7 o'clock. And I think that, I suppose, one of the concerns for me will be, hopefully I'll still be able to get my 7 o'clock session booked in. Hopefully I'll be there with my button ready to get booked in for the first one. Well,
there's no reason why not. It'll be interesting to see what actually happens when we are back in, because I think obviously there's the existing current members who will be mostly keen to get back in. Some might want to do a bit longer online until they feel completely safe. We'll have an amount of members who potentially wanted to get started, and as we always have done, we'll try and keep numbers at an amount where it works. But the major challenge we have, probably at least for the first couple of months, is that limit to the number of people we can get in per session because of social distancing. But we'll figure something out. We'll make it work as best as possible. And what I was really surprised pleasantly to see in the roadmap as it was announced last week is a potential date when, not this is all over, because even if the restrictions are lifted, I'd like to think we'll be sensible for a number of months after that.
Yeah.
It does look to me that come June the 21st or whatever date it is, we'll be back to something that's probably 70 to 80% normal compared to pre-COVID. So even if we do have a couple of months where we're not perhaps ideal from people being able to always get their first session, at least hopefully that should only be a relatively short period of time. But we'll make it work.
I'm sure.
So since you started with us, Chris, I think you might have said you're not quite sure, but do you know how much weight you've lost?
It's definitely over 20 pounds. I think you always have to trust your mum, don't you? I can't believe I'm saying this. I'm embarrassed, but one of the things that a previous PT did tell me to do is take a before and after shot in your pants, right? So I will not share these with you, John. I will never share it with my closest friends, but I have took the before and after in my pants into the mirror. And the before is not a pretty sight. The after is not particularly pretty, as I'm currently at now, but I'm certainly a lot better than I am now. And I did send those pictures to my mum, my 78-year-old mother, and she was absolutely, mothers love the kids, don't they? But she was absolutely blown away by the difference and the change. And what you see now, because you're not seeing people, the odd people you do see, the neighbour when they're putting the things out, or I dropped a bottle of milk round to a neighbour the other day, and I'm like, bloody hell, you've lost weight, you look good, you look ace. My WhatsApp group with my friends, I used to have a non-polite nickname, which I won't say online, but Slim Jim was the comments that I've had before. People have noticed now that, I've made that commitment. I don't bleat on about it, but they've just noticed the subtle changes in me and the fact that I genuinely look better. And that's important to me. I don't necessarily look on the scales and think, oh, that's the be all and end all. I feel loads better. Mentally, I'm better. And I know that I actually trust the machine you've got there. So I will when I get back on, that'll be my marker. After this next lockdown, it'll be to look at that. It will be less than when I left last time, definitely. And again, I'll send the official stamp from there, and I'll continue on the weight loss program. I'll be interested to know what you calculate my calorific value should be each day as well to maintain the deficit, which is obviously key.
Yeah, awesome. Any words of wisdom, Chris? Anyone listening you think would benefit from hearing about, whether it be about your journey or just general thoughts?
Words of wisdom? No, just don't be scared to change, and make sure it's not a bad thing to, like I say, have a word with yourself and make that commitment that you are ready to change. When you get to a certain age, you've got to really be in a situation to be happy with where you're going to be for the next however many years. And I definitely wasn't at that stage. I've made a life-changing decision to join Rise. I'm going to stay there. But even if I moved away and I couldn't stay as part of the academy, I know that I will have made some massive changes in my lifestyle, from everything from exercising to calorie understanding. I think it's not maintenance, or calorie understanding, food management, all those key principles that you guys have taught me and helped me with in the last 6 months. It's amazing. But again, it's to feel part of something, John. I'm delighted I've done it. I thank you guys very much for how you've helped me, and looking forward to it continuing.
Awesome. Fantastic, guys listening. I hope you enjoyed that. Let us know either by commenting on social media or however you can get hold of us what you got from it. But yeah, thank you, Chris.
Cheers, John. Appreciate that.